Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. We're live with another Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference ahead of the Sheffield United game, which we must win. Preview was up last night for anybody who didn't see that. But quite a lot of interesting things to talk about with Ole this morning. But we must start off with the big breaking news is that Scott McTominay has signed a new contract at Manchester United, keeps him at the club for 5 more years, 2025, with the option of a further year, which basically at his age takes him to nearly 30. So McTominay will have his long career at Manchester United. What will that long career hold? Look, there's lots of potential there with the player. I think over the last 18 months, we've started to see what a lot of people were saying within the club that we weren't necessarily seeing a couple of seasons ago. Lots of potential there. Leadership qualities there. Look, I don't think he played particularly well on Friday, but I don't think many other players did. I think the next 5 years for Scott McTominay are going to be very interesting. I think he can be anything he wants to be. I think he's well liked by the fan base now, and he's got to grasp this opportunity. There's the contract. The fans like you. Now go and grab the opportunity, because there are still some people out there, probably myself included, to be honest, who still, I'm not totally sure he's going to be a Nicky Butt, a Roy Keane or anything like that. I mean, bloody hell, I wish he was one of those two. Probably set the bar a little bit high there. But I certainly think he's got the right attributes and the right attitude to be the right sort of player that United need. The hope now is that he just continues to improve, because, look, a lot of Kieran Richardson, people like that, they're ultimately not good enough. McTominay hopefully is going to be that. So good news about the new contract for Scott McTominay, 5 years till 2025. A little bit on Angel Gomes. Simon Peach said in the press conference to Ole, is there any update on Angel Gomes? Because apparently today, although it's 30th of June, apparently today is the day where, one of the dates where you've got to sort of register if you're going to be staying at a club. I don't know whether that's going to happen. Ole himself has said, I don't know about the paperwork. I've not been informed by anybody. So does that mean that Angel Gomes could still leave United? I still think he's going to sign a contract, but as I said, all these people who've been saying, "Oh, I know he's staying, the in the knows, they don't know anything, because the contract hasn't been done yet. So there's always a chance that it won't happen. I think it will. So nothing on Angel Gomes yet. So let's get through what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was asked in the press conference. Another strange press conference. No team news talks, as Philip Burtonwood. I mean, look, thanks for the super chat, Philip. I've got to say, look, Flex has been at press conferences for the Europa League. You can't ask that question. So unless United have changed it because of the new format, they don't normally there's not normally most journalists and Flex, when he's done it, they know what questions not to ask to make it awkward for Ole. But I don't think there's a situation where questions are not allowed to be asked that are good questions. But I agree with what Philip said there. I don't think these press conferences are working particularly well. It's probably because they're not the usual format and it's being done by Zoom. I don't know. Maybe the journalists are scared that they'll just get cut off. I don't know. But there wasn't a lot on the team news. There was nothing about the centre-backs that we spoke about last night. There's nothing about formations. There's nothing about Will Greenwood start. There's nothing about Pogba and Bruno. Maybe that will come up in the embargoed bit. But for me, more importantly, there was nothing about Jude Bellingham. I don't know why that question can't be asked. This is a guy that we know went to Carrington in March, and now this is a guy that everybody's saying going to Dortmund. At Christmas time, every bloody press conference was about Erling Haaland. Nothing about Jude Bellingham. I find that a little bit weird. Also, nothing about the top 4 race. Chelsea winning at the weekend. We're drawing points. Can we still do it? Just nothing. It just seems very... They're weird press conferences at the moment, and I don't blame Solskjaer and Manchester United for that. I just think that the journalists aren't asking the right questions for whatever reason. I don't understand. Maybe I mean, look, in fairness, maybe it's the 3 months out. Maybe the fact that we've had 3 months out. But to be honest with you, we've had 3 months out on this channel. You've had 3 months out. We know what the pertinent questions are. We know what the questions are we want to ask him. I don't feel like United these press conferences are selling the game. I mean, the Spurs game, they didn't really sell it. It was all about Rashford. Today, I mean, you don't need to talk about Rashford anymore. We know what great things he's done. So why are we not talking about the game? Why are we not talking about the importance of the game, the wider issues, the transfer market? Nothing being mentioned. It's quite weird, but still plenty in there. Love the content. Do you think now that our midfield is stacked and McTominay signing a 5 deal and at 6 foot tall might be worth training McTominay to replace De Gea in net? Says Ria West. Thanks for the super chat. But look, the big thing for me from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that I really liked, and I thought it was a good press conference by Ole, he can only answer the questions he was asked, and he was put on the spot a little bit about De Gea. Simon Stone highlighting a major mistake on Friday. No problem with that. But I do feel that this is where the press run away with themselves. I mean, yes, De Gea should have saved that shot, but to say it's you see the agenda's moved now. It's all De Gea's fault that we didn't beat Spurs. I mean, look, I'm not even going to go where the fault was. I think we know where the fault was. It wasn't De Gea. De Gea should save it, but ultimately, if somebody does their job properly, that chance doesn't happen. And if there's a quick centre-back, they cover the mistake as well. So De Gea contributed, but it wasn't actually his mistake. But I love what what Ollie said. He said in the last 7 games, he's conceded 2 goals. For me, he's still the best goalkeeper in the world. And I think that just kills it dead. He's Ollie's number 1. And this is what we need. I've been saying this myself, so I'm glad that the manager's come out and said it, that it is not. And welcome to Omope's won it at the end, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And I like what you've done there. But it's not the time to start being negative. I mean, and I know people say, oh, you've been negative in the past. But look, I can only keep saying this. Over lockdown, it was not a good time. And a lot of people went through things and lost people and suffered with things and mental health and all that. And if you didn't reassess your life and the way what you're thinking, then, well, I think you wasted that 3 months. It was an opportunity for people to really look at, you know, the things that they've done in the past and are they happy with that? And for me, I was just like, you know what? In a footballing sense, which is such a small thing, really, when you think about the bigger picture of the last 3 months, I was just like, you know what? There's an opportunity here for these players to go and do what we want them to do. If they fail at any point, then I will be the first, as you know, to say, what a wasted opportunity. I look at the next 5 games and I don't see why we can't win them. That's the challenge. I expect them to do it. I back them to do it. And I will back them to do it. They've got my support and they've got a lot of your support. So at the moment, De Gea for me is the number 1. Can't play Henderson anyway, and I prefer him over Romero. Let's see what he can do. But let's get a little bit of context. We've conceded 2 goals in the last 7 games. We kept clean sheets against Chelsea, Manchester City. You know, it's not the bloody big drama that people want it to be, De Gea in goal. I think there is an issue. There definitely is an issue, but the MSN, the mainstream media, the same old pundits on the TV, they're turning this into a massive issue. It's a bit like when Pogba doesn't have a good game. Oh, let's go on De Gea. You're not actually doing us any favours as a United fan base to keep going on about De Gea, because ultimately, my bigger issue in that United team is the lack of pace in the centre-backs. I'm not worried about De Gea going forward. I think De Gea won't make many mistakes like that anymore. I don't think he probably will make 1 or 2 again, but I don't think he'll make loads of mistakes. But I'm still absolutely terrified of our centre-backs being too slow for a ball over the top or someone running at them. That's not going to change. So yeah, De Gea might have a lapse of concentration, but he's still a very good goalkeeper. Lindelof and Maguire aren't going to find an extra yard of pace. To me, that's a big issue. But, you know, everything pushed on to De Gea. So nice to see that David De Gea has been backed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And that's, you know, that's what should be happening. Any point keeping Henderson? He doesn't want to be on the United bench, says Shane. Well, he can force a move if he wants to go. It's up to him. Welcome to Ewan, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. I mean, on Dean Henderson, Ollie did say that, you know, he can be a future Manchester United number 1 and England number 1. I think he should be England number 1, Dean Henderson. I think he's way better than Pickford. But he also said it's different circumstances. The loan move for Henderson has been fantastic. He's been playing with men. He's done fantastically well there. But it's very different. It's a very different job to be Sheffield United goalkeeper as it is to be Manchester United goalkeeper. And I think what he means there is, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had played for Newcastle or Everton as a striker and scored 30 goals a season, but he scores 15 goals for Manchester United, he's probably going to be happier with the 15 goals because he's doing it at a higher level in a team where teams are going to defend, where there's a lot higher pressure. So, you know, at Sheffield United, Henderson's getting a lot of practice. The expectations are low because Sheffield United are not a great side. They've done fantastically well and he's been player of the season for me. At United, he's going to have far less shots and it's a totally different job. I mean, Ben Foster's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. He didn't make it at Manchester United. There's a few goalkeepers like that. So I think that's what Ollie's doing with the experience he's got. Ollie's been at United and he's seen players that didn't make it at United. They've gone off to other clubs and been fantastic. And it's about expectations. And he, at the moment, knows that De Gea has been and can be one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Henderson can be one of the best, but we need to just be a little bit, what's the word, less sensationalist about this. There actually are people in the press, in the pundits, in our fan base going, kick De Gea out and play Henderson. It's just not that simple. There's a process here. And that process wouldn't happen for at least 3 months. probably 2 years. So it's about managing that and backing what we've got, and it was good to see that. Ewan says, is Axel Twansebi still injured? Well, again, Ewan, this is the problem. There was no team news. There was no injury updates. I don't know what they're doing in these press conferences. I don't know what they're doing. There is an embargoed section, but I just think everybody's out of practice. They don't seem to be asking the right questions. I even tweeted it out this morning, knowing there are journalists that follow the United Stand, hoping they would see the Jude Bellingham thing and think, oh, that'll be a good question to ask. No, doesn't get asked. Any injury updates? No. The top 4 race? No. All we got was Sheffield United will be a bit of a wounded animal and there'll be a hard side to play against. And also there was a question. I mean, this was a cracking question, this was. Is it any different to play without fans? I mean, that question is decent, but is about 20 questions below what should be asking. And Ollie comes out with, Ollie comes out with the obvious answer. We miss the fans at United. They're the best fans in the world. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where some of the questions are going. Like, do you like playing in red? Just ask the questions injury updates, very important. Bruno and Pogba, get the fans excited. I mean, it's a very good question. Will Bruno and Pogba be playing with each other tomorrow? Well, I'm not going to answer that question because I don't want to give my team news away. But they can they're both, build it. I don't want questions like, are you signing Jadon Sancho? I don't want questions like, is Paul Pogba leaving? I think that's, antagonistic and inflammatory. But there's plenty of good questions that could have been asked. I enjoyed what was asked about De Gea. But I more enjoyed the fact that the question asked was actually, it's De Gea's fault we conceded a goal on Friday. Ollie turned it into a brilliant answer by backing him, and that's what I want to see. But I didn't see enough good questions in there. Are genetics in play, or could the defence train to get another place? Do we need new players, says Ria West. Look, Lindelof's not... Look, as a kid, I could run 100 metres in about 11 and a half seconds. I don't know whether that's fast or not. I got slower and slower as I got older. I could never get any quicker than that. So it is. I'm not into all that sports science and stuff, but you can't get Lindelof to run up and down the track and get him to be a yard quicker. It's speed, isn't it? Usain Bolt's the quickest guy in the world. James Corden's never going to be. It doesn't matter how much James Corden trains, he ain't never going to be as fast as Usain Bolt. So you've got players that are quick. Theo Walcott's a quick player. Dan James is a quick player. Nemanja Matic isn't. So look, we need some pace. I think it's a really big issue, but I spoke about it last night. What else was mentioned before we get on to the latest transfer news? No Gomes update. McTominay good news. Sky Italia will talk about that. Very interesting. Here's an interesting point for you. Really interesting. I read this today. I think it was on The Sportsman or something. Bruno Fernandez is now has broken the record of his first 10 games at United being unbeaten. The only other player to do this. So Bruno Fernandez is unbeaten in his first 10 games as a Manchester United player. There's only one other player in the current squad who's done that. You'd never guess it. You would never guess it in a million years. Only if you've seen the tweet will you know it, and someone in the live comments will know it. Hi Mark, your commentary reaction was nearly as good as Ollie's 99 winner. Only difference is we won the treble. Haha, love it, says Omar Pace, won it at the end. Yeah, it's quite iconic that now, isn't it? Yeah, a lot of people are getting it in the live comments. Paul Robinson, one of our moderators. So Phil Jones and Bruno Fernandez, they'll never share a record again. Like they're the odd couple, aren't they? But they do share this record. Bruno Fernandez and Phil Jones are the only two players in the current squad who have been unbeaten in their first 10 games as Manchester United players. Yeah, I mean, Phil Jones came into a very good side, to be honest, didn't he? I think Bruno's is way more impressive because, one, he's actually contributed goals and assists, and two, the team he's playing in is nowhere near as good as the team that Phil Jones was playing in when he first came to the club. But, Phil Jones has a record that if we are unbeaten tomorrow night, which we will be, it's probably the last... Phil Jones has probably got that on his wall. I'm the only player in the squad that was unbeaten for 10 games in the first, and tomorrow night he's going to be smashing it on the floor. Well, he probably won't do because he's injured again, isn't he? But Bruno's about to beat it tomorrow because we've got to win. We've got to win tomorrow night. And look, if they're not going to ask the right questions to build up this match, I will say it right now. We've got to win tomorrow to get... I would have loved to just said to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, how important is the game tomorrow, Ollie? Chelsea won at the weekend. Leicester play tonight. You're 5 points behind Chelsea. You're 8 points behind Leicester. I mean, you've 8 games to go. It's got to be a must-win game tomorrow night. Ollie's got to answer that question. Is he going to seriously say, well, the lads... I'm not going to do an Ollie impression, I'm crap at it. But he's not going to go, well, you don't know how it's going to be. Sheffield United are a good team. He's going to have to... I think he's got to give us what we want. And this is an entertainment business. We want to be entertained. I wanted Ollie this morning to mutter the words, it's a must-win game tomorrow. We've got to go out and do it. We've got the players to do it. I'm very happy with the team. And I think we can win tomorrow. And that's what we're going to go and do. Ollie would happily do that. I've seen him say it before. Why can't that be asked? Why can't it be asked? There's a lot of positivity around this club at the moment. Some coming from the club, some coming from the players, some coming from the manager, a lot of it coming from the fan base, to be fair. Give us some positivity, give us some oomph, because I tell you what, I'll keep saying it, we've got to win our next 5 games. Sheffield United, Brighton, Bournemouth, Southampton, Aston Villa, 15 points. Got to go and do it. Got to go and do it. Loyal Gooner says United lost to Newcastle. Mate, if you're a Gooner, thanks for your loyalty, but you lost 6 points to Brighton. If they stay up, it's because of you. Mark, how many points do we need to end up top 4 or 5? 8 games left. Would you say must win 7, or would 6 wins do it? Chelsea and Leicester drop points. Andrew, I think 6 wins out of 8 could do it. I think 7 wins out of 8 will do it. 8 wins out of 8 will definitely do it. So I think you've got to win. I want us to win the next 7, and then Leicester's a cup final. If we win the next 7, our last game of the season's Leicester. I think if we win that 8th game, we'll go past Leicester as well as Chelsea. So that's it's in our hands. It's in our hands. Please subscribe if you're new, bottom right-hand corner, and share the video. We've got the transfer news coming up in a minute as well. And thanks for the super chats. Also, Wolves breathing right down United's neck, and they kick off at the same time. Southpaw Love Sports. You know what? Respect Southpaw Love Sports, because I respect Wolves. I look at Wolves' fixture list and they're looking at it the same as us. I mean, they haven't got the same squad as us. I don't think they've got the same set of players as us. But Wolves have got 8 games left, the same as us. They're on the same points. They could win 7 out of 8, and their last game's Chelsea. So I know it's dangerous, but I actually want Wolves to keep winning, because if Wolves keep winning, then their last game of the season against Chelsea means they need to beat Chelsea, which makes it harder for Chelsea as well. So look, it's dangerous that you want Wolves to keep winning, but if they keep coming along with us, it could put some more and more pressure on Chelsea and Leicester. And I think Leicester have got to play Wolves. I'm not 100% about that. I did have a list somewhere. No, they haven't. They haven't got to play Leicester, actually, which is a shame. It's a shame. I wish they did, but they don't. Anyway, a little bit of transfer news to bring you as well. We already know that Scott McTominay signed a 5-year contract, but this is quite interesting coming out of Italy, and I don't know what you think about this. Now, Alexi Sanchez loan deal at Inter Milan ends, I believe, at the end of this month. Sky Italia are reporting that Manchester United don't want him to extend it, therefore they want him to come back, which is, I'm quite surprised by this. I don't want Alexi Sanchez back at Manchester United at a very important period in our season. I think it's a massive danger to do that. He's on major money. He's contributed nothing in the whole time he's been here, and we're going to bring that atmosphere into our squad. And I don't think Sanchez wants to come back either. And I personally think United will let him extend his move to Inter, and I think they're desperate for that to happen from what I've been told. But Sky Italia are basically saying that United don't want him to extend his contract because he'll then be playing for Inter Milan in the Europa League in August, which could damage United's chances of getting into the Europa League. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not worried about Alexis Sanchez. He's not Alexis Sanchez of like 4 years ago. If he's playing, I doubt he'd even start for Inter Milan. So I don't agree with this. I mean, I'd be very surprised if it's true, but I thought I'd just bring it to your attention. I'd be very surprised if United are going to get Alexis Sanchez back from Inter Milan. I mean, it would be all kinds of weird to do that, but I just thought I would mention it. What's your score prediction for tomorrow, Mark? Says Chot Spot United. My score prediction for tomorrow is 3-0 United. I don't see us conceding, and I see us winning 3-0. Also, reports about Willian being offered to Manchester United for free. I mean, look, you know what? Can I just say, there was a time when we were linked to Willian, when Mourinho was the manager, that I was actually like, you know what? I wouldn't mind him coming to United, because we've not really had a right winger for a long, long time. And you know what? Willian against Villa at the weekend, Chelsea fans don't really like him. Anything he does wrong, they jump all over him. But I actually thought he was one of their better players against Villa at the weekend. He put in some decent crosses. But this is the sort of signing that I don't think even Everton do these sort of signings anymore. I mean, he really should be going to like an Arsenal or something like that, a mid-table club who've got a bit of money, who want to get a bargain. Manchester United, who want to win titles, you don't go and get Willian on loan. I mean, he's old. It's just not what we're meant to be doing. We're meant to be building a team. So, as an obvious answer, Sancho. Sancho's the player that we want. Sancho's the player I think we'll get. But look at the game last night. Riyad Mahrez, he's spent a lot of time this season on the bench for Manchester City. They've normally been playing like Bernardo Silva and Sterling as the wide players. Riyad Mahrez is, for me, one of the best players in the world at the moment on that right wing. And that just shows you the depth that Manchester City have got. They've not got one good right winger. They've got 2 or 3 people who can play out there. And we would go for Willian on a free. And that's the mentality. That you don't need to get stressed about it. You don't need to rant about it. There's your answer. Willian on a free as a Chelsea player they don't want anymore, or the depth of what Man City have got. That's where United should be. That's what we should be aiming for. Quality in all positions, not players coming in towards the end of their career who used to be good. So for me, I don't care whether we've been offered him or not. It's not a good deal. Josh Sutton says, I love how Greenwood looked versus Spurs. More muscle and dangerous off the right. He should start the remaining Premier League games. In my opinion, he's ready. Yes and no, Josh. I think that you're still dealing with a very young player here. He's only 18 years of age. No matter how much muscle he's put on, playing him 3 times a week for the next 8 weeks is not a good idea. You're still dealing with a player, a bit like Rashford was. These are still growing players. And when you overplay a player when they're growing, you can create injury problems later in their life. So there's a sports science bit behind this. It would be wrong to play Mason Greenwood 90 minutes every 3 days for 8 weeks. It would be wrong. You would be playing with his future career. He's fantastic, he's great, but we've seen it with Rooney, we've seen it with Michael Owen. You overplay these teenagers and it's just a matter of genetics or whatever you want to call it. They will end up with injury problems later on because they're still growing into their body. So overplaying them is a bad idea. Ria West says, if Bruno keeps going, doing these crazy non-scoring outside box shots, is he better as an off-the-bench player? Is it a show of Ollie's management skills to curb it from his game or on the player from not learning? I think very, very quickly what's going to happen with Bruno is, I love Bruno Fernandez and I think he brings so much to the team and I think he's already a major, major success for Manchester United. But I also think that with a player like Bruno Fernandez, even I was frustrated with him a couple of times this season, but I was definitely frustrated with him on Friday night where there were occasions where he could have just blasted it. He could have blasted it. No, he did blast it 3 times from long distance, and one of them was 35 yards out. And he's got space in front of him, and he's got attackers in front of him, and he decides to take a shot when really he should be carrying the ball closer and looking to feed in a Rashford or a James or a Martial who are on the pitch. So Bruno does need to control that. It's got to come from the manager and it's got to come from the player. And basically, if I was Ollie, I'd be saying, look, you're not in the Portuguese league anymore. You can't be shooting from 35 yards in the Premier League 3 or 4 times a game because you're wasting our attacking phases, which against the Brighton or someone like that's not too bad. But what if you're doing it against Chelsea where you're only going to get 7 or 8 good chances in a game? You can't be shooting from 30 or 40 yards every single time. You might score 1, but the goalkeepers are better here. The quality of the football's better here. What I would be saying if I was Ollie, if you're in a good position to shoot and you're closer to the goal, take it on. Every now and again take one on, but not 3 or 4 times in a game. And also I would be saying, the thing is, if you don't do those shots and you carry the ball forward, you'll probably get an assist anyway by playing in a Rashford or a Bruno because you've got the space in front of you. Get closer to the goal, feed somebody in. So I think it's a bit of learning. He's still ridiculously young in his career in the Premier League. And he's still got, and also because he went from January, he was still playing Portuguese football, straight into Premier League football. It's a harder transition because there's been no break. He's not had a pre-season or anything like that. That 3 months we've just had off is not a pre-season. So he's still learning the game and we're still learning about him. So I think from Solskjaer's point of view, it will just be, you're a fantastic player. Please stop shooting from distance. And Bruno, it's about, learning about the league. And I think it will be fine. But no, I would agree, as one of Bruno's biggest fans, which everyone knows, he can't keep shooting 3 or 4 times a game from 30, 40 yards. It's a waste of an attack. But it's still an asset. And I meant starting and sub off at half time, says Josh Sutton. Greenwood, yeah. Well, Ollie doesn't really do half time subs either. Why can't we sign Sancho and Willian on a free as backup? He's still decent as a backup, says Shelley D'Souza. I don't think we would do that, Shelley, because I mean it's not a bad idea, but I think with Willian he's going to be on big money, isn't he? Because he's free, so and he wants to play football. So yeah, I don't. I'd be absolutely, and I know I say this a few times, but I'd be absolutely stunned if Manchester United went and bought Willian. On a free, because again, Milinkovic-Savic, Koulibaly, Willian, there's a couple of others as well. These are Mourinho signings. They're not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer targets. So we get linked to them because we tried to buy them with Mourinho. Totally different manager now. I think it's very obvious that Mourinho quite liked to buy players 28 and older. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer likes to sign players 23 and under, or 25 and under, because that's what Bruno was. Maguire was 27 to be fair, but I think that was he needed an experienced centre-back. But Ollie's trying to build for the future, so he wants players that are going to give him at least 5 or 6 years. Mourinho, I mean, that's the perfect example, isn't it? Mourinho is a short-term manager. He never stays anywhere longer than 2 or 3 years. So he buys the finished article. He doesn't care how much he spends. He doesn't care the fact that Sanchez cost 400 grand a week because he knew he'd be gone in 2 years himself. It's about bringing in a player now. Mourinho's always been a manager that brings the players in for the now, not the future. Ollie's a manager that brings them in for the future. Now, I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong, but why would Ollie look for Willian? Why would Ollie look at Cavani? Why would Ollie be looking at players that are nearly 30? I don't think he's going to do that. Mourinho would, Ollie wouldn't. Bergwijn is young, says Adnan. Well, look, maybe Mourinho. I'm talking about. You see, you're being very simplistic there. I'm talking about Manchester United. What did I say before? I mentioned the names: Willian, Sanchez, Perisic, Koulibaly, Milinkovic-Savic. All players that Jose Mourinho, as Manchester United manager, tried to sign or did sign. I don't care what he's doing at Spurs because it doesn't really impact on Manchester United. If Mourinho has changed his plans and he now wants to buy younger players, and Dembele's quite young, Bergwijn's young. He didn't buy in Dembele, I've just realised. Bergwijn's young. That's not relevant to what I'm saying. We are still getting linked to players that Mourinho wanted. They're not what Ollie wants. Milinkovic-Savic, we're always getting linked to him. That was Mourinho's target. Koulibaly, Mourinho's target. Willian, Mourinho's target. It's just lazy journalism. We won't be in for these players. Mourinho himself said he didn't want Bergwijn, but he's glad it's worked out, says Jesse W. So I don't know. And Bernardeschi would be a good option for right wing, says Enza. I do like Bernardeschi at Juventus, but we can't deal with Juventus because they will want to get Pogba out of the deal. No update on Jude Bellingham. A few people asking about that. I don't think. I thought Ollie's answers were very good. I loved the fact that he backed De Gea. I loved what he said. I don't think there was enough good questions in there. Maybe there will be some in the embargoed section, but normally you'd get asked about team news and injury news. Normally you'd get asked about Bruno and Pogba starting. Normally you'd get asked about the top 4 race. And I still don't understand why there's not been a question about Jude Bellingham, who was at Carrington in March and is apparently going to Dortmund. Why is that not a question to be asked? And I guarantee you, Manchester United Football Club will have not said to those journalists, you can't ask about Bellingham. They won't have asked that. They're just not asking good questions. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they're not asking the good questions. Maybe it will come out in the embargoed section at 10:30 tonight. But these press conference questions from the journalists are nowhere near as good as they were before the lockdown. And I don't know why. And it's not Ollie's fault. And I don't think it's even Manchester United's fault. They're just not asking decent questions, which is a big shame as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, nearly 9,000 people watching. Your support of this channel and the growth of the community is fantastic. Please subscribe if you're new, bottom right hand corner, and smash a like on the video. We'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight. You've got Flex and Rants show going up at 1 o'clock as per usual. Demirel or Delit, says Yilmaz. I'd probably go Demirel, to be honest. I think Delit's turning pace is a bit like a double-decker bus at the moment. He's not doing particularly well. Also, bit of a treat for you before the 8 o'clock show tonight. If you want to go onto the Mark Goldbridge That's Football YouTube channel, I'm doing a watch-along, Leicester against Brighton, and I hope Marpe's going to do it again. we need Leicester to keep dropping points. So I'm doing a watch along for that at 6 o'clock tonight on Mark Goldbridge That's Football. So you can join me for that if you want to. And I will see you either at 6 o'clock on Mark Goldbridge That's Football or 8 o'clock on here tonight. And Flex and Rants is going on up at 1 o'clock as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Great to have football back. Loved what Ollie had to say. Would like a few better questions, but maybe it's just a slow start. We'll see. Thanks for watching. We don't need a slow start tomorrow night, though. We need to win, 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 which is why I've gone for 3-0, because I said win 3 times. Thanks for watching. Speak to you in a bit.